You are listening to Future Voices, a podcast brought to you by BiH Futures Foundation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Futures Voices. We are again in season 2 with our special episodes focusing on some pretty impressive individuals who are tied to our Futures Leaders Summit, this amazing conference that we've been hosting for several years that focuses on young people, technology, and education. This year, we're hosting this conference in Sarajevo from the 15th to the 17th of December. And I'm about to reveal another incredible individual who is really we have a symbiosis with the foundation. He's also a change maker. He's got a very illustrious career. He's worked in so many different fields. He's an engineer by education, but by practice, he's everything from a patent attorney all the way through change maker, innovator, someone who's really driving change in our society. Today's guest is Edin Skaljic. You may have heard of his name before. If you haven't, you hear all about his story and what movement he started in Sarajevo. So Edin, very warm welcome to Futures Voices.
Thanks, Eddie, and thanks everybody to listening to this podcast. I'm looking forward to tell the story about myself, actually the FabLab, not myself.
Well, you did say that it's been a while since you got to do a podcast in English, so hopefully you'll be able to express yourself in certain ways that you can't normally express yourself when we speak our language.
That's true, but I'll pretty much sure I can handle it, so it's gonna be okay. It's been a while going like full lecture on English or talking about on English, but it's okay.
Awesome. Let's do this. So first of all, I just want you to give a short little introduction about yourself to our listeners. There are a lot of people that are aware of who you are, what you've done. I mentioned that you've been associated with the US military, that you have a mechanical engineering background, but there's a lot more to you. So maybe just short, present yourself to our listeners.
Well, we share the same hometown, so I'm born in Tuzla. Lived most of my life in Sarajevo, basically, but finished degree, mechanical engineering degree, started studying in a city university, UK, London, aeronautical engineering. That was my beginning of the academic career, which I moved after that, basically to several places, including the Bosnia, and then finally did my master at the University of Erlangen in Germany, in the low-speed wind tunnel. That's where my academic career stopped, kind of. I was choosing decision, shall I stay? I was offered a couple of PhD positions. I'm actually a guy that works I like working with technology, with the hands. So even though it was very, very experimental stage, it was also the time, the late 90s, just before the towers went down. So I decided to pick a job. So that's how I started my professional career, basically. So I moved with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers before the actual tower came down. So that's before 2001 to research section, a research department, development of the new products. I stayed there roughly about 10 years, doing various things, and that's beginning of the professional career. Basically, 10 years. It's not a small amount of the time, but it's rather a lot. And then after that, I moved to the field of intellectual property because we were dealing continuously with development of the products, doing the patents and things like that. So found myself in a very good environment with a few, acquaintances and friends that kind of met several people into one spot, and we decided to create a company. So company was rolled out in Bosnia and San Francisco at the time. We run that and still running basically in various formats since that time. So that's from 2012, we actively into the field of the intellectual property management. That means valuation of the intellectual property, which is the hardest thing to do. Also transaction intellectual property and not so much as it's really popular. It's not so much in litigations because that's completely separate field. So we continuously work with larger Fortune 500 companies, trying to work with their tech teams, how they can improve the technology, how they can acquire technology if they're missing, how they protect their technology. And that's currently what I have in my professional career. So it's two companies behind that. a couple other failed startups also, which was always good on a side. So
We can always talk about failures because there's no better learning for sure.
right.
As our listeners can see or hear in this instance, a lot of different experiences that have led you ultimately to establishing something in Sarajevo, for which I'm sure you've heard many, many times, Edin, you are crazy. It won't work in Bosnia. It's impossible. How are you going to do it, etc., etc. And yet here you are. You created something called FabLab. For a lot of our listeners out there, FabLab, fabrication lab, is a concept, basically a facility that people can utilize technology to manufacture and build, innovate, and etc., etc. Edin, you started one in Bosnia. Tell us, what is the Sarajevo Fab Lab and how did you get there?
Well, true. Yes, many people when I rolled out the idea roughly in 2016 in a company because in company in Bosnia at that time there was about 40 people roughly, about 25-ish engineers, from telco to all the mechanical. I was like, well, guys, as we hire the people all the time, and I see kind of I mean, at that stage of the company, that size, you do all the interviews yourself. So I was noticing significant drop of the quality of our engineers. It doesn't matter from which schools they were coming from, Tuzla, Banja Luka, Sarajevo, Mostar, whatever it is. Whatever faculties, some of the faculties were going up. We were reluctant in the beginning to, get the guys from IOS, because there was brand new faculty, International University of Sarajevo, or Travnik, or FIT, in Mostar. We were like, it's just starting, so the quality must be not so good. Some of these places actually proved to be much, much better places. But even though in total I was just seeing this complete degradation of the knowledge of the junior electrical or mechanical engineers when they come to the work. And in 2016, I was, to the friends and everybody, as you work, you continuously, in academia world. I mean, we have a bunch of the inputs also. I was going like, how we can change this? Well, this was pure, just pure out of no value inside for this, outside, just to build something that is concrete, that is going to stay later for goods and for everyone. So not it's not a business. So I was like, how we can solve this? How we can change something, and I don't want to change it. And I seen the friends on universities, they coming back from the United States with PhDs, they get a job at local university, and then they try to change it and they fail. They try to change the system, and system doesn't respond very well on changes in Bosnia, as we all know. It's pretty much the same, the system they involve. So there was, we were really we were kind of without a hope, like that we can change something, anything on that level. And that was pure reason. I mean, and beside, I mean, we were realizing basically all these kids coming from the schools directly, they zero experience with equipment or experimental work or anything. So even if you had something on these universities or local faculties, uh, they lost it. So we were like, okay, so what you gonna do? So in 2016, I met the group of the people in Belgrade. The FabLab regional conference was the first time premiering in a region, and it was just group of thesis from the whole region, like ex-Yugoslavia and further, like Hungary and Budapest and Romania and other countries, just a regional one. And it was interesting, the concept, though it was a really not sold very well, because it's FabLab is really for everybody here is like it's MIT started it in 2000, roughly 11, 12, just to open up the science, open innovation science concept to everybody. However, the actual operational logistical business model behind it was never, it was left up to the guys who want to open it. So the FabLabs are literally like very, very expensive to run. I don't know, when you first take the shot and see what you need to get there, is like, wow, You gotta get a laser cutters, 3D printers. The bill goes like quickly to 100,000, 200,000 US or euros, whatever it is. So I was like, okay, this may be good concept. That was my approach. Like, I was like, okay, this could work very well, but how are we gonna run the business of this? We can just finance this, out of our pockets. I mean, it's possible, but it doesn't make any sense.
How do you make it sustainable long term financially?
Yes. So that's what we were thinking from 2016 roughly to 2019. We were really busy with our work, so we were just kind of planning it. And then 2019, just before the Corona, I said, let's do it. Let's create it. We had some idea about a business plan, how it's gonna sit, how we're gonna run it and support it. I was like, okay, we'll do our own investment first. We'll just invest everything, about 250K equipment for it. We're gonna just buy it and that's it. And we're gonna start going from there. And 2019, we started formation as a non-profit, apolitical association at the Bosnian level. It took a while to get it approved because it's one of the rare associations that actually only has a research inside of the name of actually not the name, but that is actually registered for. So it was a rough time, and Corona started, and we were like, wow, well, we even have Corona now, and what we're gonna do? So in a parallel, we were starting negotiations or talks with university to see, and actually with the IWS and the BiH and the SST, to see can they be part of this? Would they like it? It was impossible to reach University of Sarajevo at that time, simply just because everything is routed, to the rectorate, and everything is just so much you have to do administration and everything else. So IWS and SST were really interested in the idea. But our logic behind it is just those two universities are far out on the borders of Sarajevo with the location. I mean, they have great facilities, but it's like they just sit outside. The FabLab premise idea is not just the students, right?
Accessibility is a bit of an issue there.
Yes, it's accessibility. Yes, definitely. So we were thinking, let's get closer to town because it's not just students. We want to open it for, because our FabLab is from K-12 basically, so 12 years old and above, and and the companies and everybody else. So it's not just students. So we somehow ended up just around before the Corona time on campus ground, University of Sarajevo, and we ran to the Melika Mehmedovic. She's a professor at the local economic school, and she was director of the Center of Interdisciplinary Studies. And she said, wow, this is a great idea. Even though she's like completely out of the field, she's not a techie. Center for Interdisciplinary Studies is basically at that time, like it just started maybe 2-3 years running, and it was really it was running okay, relatively good. So she said, well, even though it's like mostly social sciences, not the technical sciences, she said, yeah, let's try. Let's pitch idea and see how it's gonna go. So university accepted it, after 1 month, very short. So we officially entered the cooperation with university and Center for Interdisciplinary Studies to create the FabLab. So that was the base. And thanks for university.
That's
that thing.
Story of FabLab. So long story how to get there. But now that you got there, what are some of the things that you are doing? Talk us through some of the technologies that you have available at the facility. What projects have you worked on? What are you currently working on? Maybe give us a little hint of what you may be working on in the near future.
Sure. So the business plan, basically at that time, we were thinking like, well, we cannot just go with this from the little donations or projects, and we said we have to do real science. We have to get a real things to do behind our applicative research, and we need to work with the companies. So our business model, we set it up on 3 legs. So it's interesting because it's education, 1 leg, you can do with whatever, trainings and everything else. The business creation is the 2nd leg, and the 3rd one is innovation. Either innovation on our side or to support innovation to everybody else. So on that 3 legs tool model, which we found later that European Institute of Technology had the same idea, which I didn't know about it at that time. And we met like a year later with EIT and that division of manufacturing that actually had a similar approach to the problem. So that's how we started. Corona was, for at least one more year. In the first year, we had, I don't know, about 400 trainings, even though about 2 conferences. We were lucky that we could actually start working directly with all the faculties of University of Seoul because that's agreement included. So we briefly met with all the key people there and see can we run any of the projects. So even though we had equipment, 3D printing, we were missing other technologies, and we kind of start working on a project. So we put it in basically in several places to start developing various things. So 3D printing was one side, and then we said, okay, what else we're gonna do? So we created a technology map, what we want to do in the future. So one was obviously electronic lab, which was very interesting because on the electronics, if you don't have PCB and your own design, custom design, we all know how it goes, at least on this side, and you have the mechanical casing around it, you actually have the product. So we were actually at that time we actually got introduced, even though we actually knew him before, the Emir Karamehmedovich, PhD from the TU Denmark. She was working at the IUS at the time, so he said, "I'm gonna establish this, how it's supposed to be." And then we started developing electronic lab, and later we went through various things. So it's robotics, collaborative robotics. We also have a 3D biolabs, which is done by Mirza Suljagic. Basically, the biolabs is something that is actually evolving. We're still missing maybe about 50 to 100K investment to get the lab up and running, and it's basically about the 3D cell cultures models generated by the cutting edge technologies like using biofabrication, bioprinting to create from the organoids real live things to create something new. It's like trying to print the skin. Why print skin is because then you can give this to the pharmaceutical industry, that we have a bunch of the industry around, so we can say, okay, they can do the testing now instead of live people or the animals. They can do tests on a fake skin, hypothetically. So it's a lot of different things.
Got a lot of different technologies that you're dabbling with, a lot of expertise. You could say FabLab acts like a bit of a magnet for Bosnia Herzegovina talent, not only outside of Bosnia, but also in Bosnia. How are your relationship building, say, escapades going? How are you engaging with all of these bright minds that we have all over the world? And how do they see FabLab? Do they want to get involved? And who else is getting involved? How are you managing that?
Right. So original is just to build the various platforms. So each of these technologies is actually a platform by itself, and each platform needs to have the team behind. So even we know that with BHFF we got with the network, we see a lot of people studying abroad. A lot of people want to return home and do something here. So one of the ideas, most of us in the FabLab were somewhere in a world before. It's not that we were all the time in Bosnia, obviously, but it was an idea to offer some kind of platform so people actually can return also. So it's not just attract people from Bosnia, but also return, get the people from abroad and to have capacity to come back to something like this. So we were 3 years running. So we went from 0 people. We're now 12 full-time, 6 part-time, at least 50 interns throughout the year and many volunteers. So it's about 20 to 25 people in a lab all the time. And that's where we currently sit. So we attract what we've seen in 3 years running the projects. We made agreements and memorandum of understandings and everything else, cooperation agreements with pretty much all academia in Bosnia, and a lot of outside of Bosnia. So that's the one way to attract talent, and the second way that we actually realized one of the bigger projects, because we entered the project establishing the maker movement in the region, together with one of the largest maker movements in Europe. Together, one of the partners is like Prusa. Prusa is famous because they have 3D printing. They're 3D printing makers, and they produce 100,000 printers a year or something like that. So they're from Prague, and they have very good relationship with them. And then with them, we discovered basically, okay, maybe we need to change even not just university level. We maybe need to change the high school. I mean, we knew it. We need to change that, but we did not do that because it's hard to do it, obviously. And then we realized, because I have two kids and they're like 19 and 17 now. So I realized they went to school in Bosnia all the way from primary school. Now that daughters are university. So I saw the pain even in a primary school, and we discovered that moment was like, we need to do something even for the younger ages, and that's how the idea of the Maker Fair got there. We said, let's do the Maker Fair, because then we can attract even the younger generations, explain what is technology, explain how beautiful science and research is, and they can do it, they can develop themselves in that. So that was a
Maker Fair is such a beautiful project. I think there isn't a single person in the entire country or the region or the world that would not say what an amazing event. So a couple of these Maker Fair events, thousands of people, thousands of interactions, relationship building is something that's often overlooked as a result of these gatherings. The interactions with technology, perhaps inspiring a kid to take on a career of engineering or some form of creativity sparking, is an amazing exercise. Tell me a little bit more about the Maker Fairs. What is the future looking like for these types of events? What do you hope to achieve in the next few years with them?
To be honest, I really want to see it in every little town in Bosnia, or even school. I know it's very I know it's a dream. We actually had a dream to expand the FabLabs also in Bosnia, and it's actually happening now. So FabLab, Unsko-Sanski Canton, it's basically 3 towns: Sazin, BiH, and more. God, up to me. Brainstroke. Yeah, exactly. So they are opening just doors right now. Banja Luka is actually, through the partners, is opening the door next month. Teslic is opening in January. It's kind of weird that we didn't even expect it, and then we got approached by a lot of people saying how we can expand it, and we keep saying there's 3 things you need to have. It's basically people, money, and a space, and that's it. Yeah, so very simple. If you're missing one of these 3 things, well, you will fail most likely. So it's the same with the Maker Fair. We are hoping we're going to get it to the school. I mean, there's options to get it to the schools. I mean, even though Maker Fair is a franchise, you need to pay for it. But I think, I mean, it's very we can afford it. It's fairly simple, even for every school to afford it. So it also just started in the United States, like last 2 years. They started these school Maker Fairs, which is very fine. And then the best of these Maker Fairs, kids in the schools, they actually go to the larger Maker Fairs and kind of make it like that. So I hope this spreads around. It doesn't have to be maybe even official Maker Fair event. It can reassemble because of the franchises and the cost of doing the event. It's not cheap at all. I mean, our events costing 50 to 100K roughly. And it's a lot of money that we need to scoop and find to the sponsors and everything else. So major events are really expensive. But I would like to see similar events. I mean, we had the events before, researcher nights also. They kind of went away in Bosnia with Corona. So no events actually happened after that. Like BHFF, also the Future Leader Summit is a very good example, of these conferences that we actually need, the good ones. I mean, there's a lot of conferences, as but they don't generate any real good value. It's just there for themselves. So
create an impact. I guess you talked about budgets and how important it is to have the funding to make this happen. I love the concept of being available in every town. I think regardless of the fact that we offer free transportation, free accommodation to many of the conferences that we organize in the Futures Foundation, often these events are still inaccessible to people that live in smaller towns, partly because people just don't travel as much as we think they travel when it comes to small regional towns and villages. So moving these Maker Fairs around Bosnia, organizing events in smaller towns, means that we'll be reaching people who don't normally get access to this. So I think that's a very noble cause. And if anything, I can say the Futures Foundation is definitely interested in supporting this concept. We ourselves tried numerous times in opening up makerspaces. And again, you need to have good people. You talked about the importance of having good teams to lead each one of these portfolios with various technologies. I think it's likely just as important to have good people on the ground in Krajina, in BiH, Cazin, and Sanski Most, and Banja Luka, and wherever else you're going to do this. People are the key. Having good people, developing, empowering people are the key. Edin, we're going to finish up with our podcast. I want to talk a little bit about what kind of technologies you're going to be exploring with the FabLab in Sarajevo in the next few years. Tell our listeners a little bit about what's happening in the world in terms of latest technologies. What can we expect to dabble with like you're dabbling with right now? So I remember quite a while ago, 3D printers were being talked about. Then all of a sudden, the few models came out. Then all of a sudden, we had them in university labs. And now having a 3D printer is basically like buying a pot plant in your house. So technology
Yes.
on the forefront of being accessible to the everyday, enthusiast who will come along and want to build something, inspire someone, or perhaps just learn something.
Definitely. I mean, 2D printing came to this stage. It's like a 2D printer, like just all regular old home printer that we have, almost. It's going to be there in like 2 years, I think, in every home. So, the concept that we are actually pursuing, it's we kind of aligned also with the EIT, because we see that because these huge political changes. I mean, I'm going to just switch a little bit to that. In the world, I mean, a lot of efforts a lot of factories, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of production is gonna come back to Europe. So Europe doesn't want to be Corona showed this. Remember that tanker that got actually stuck in Suez Canal or whatever it is. You're causing interruption in your own countries. So that is driving a lot of change. From technology perspective, we were very working hard last year to adopt the micro learning concept that is recently developed for the manufacturing companies and developed by the largest manufacturing corporations and universities together. We've been lucky that we were part of 4 of these projects exploring how micro learning, hybrid trainings, or hands-on trainings can be used and utilized in the future. So these concepts are very, very new to Bosnia or even most of the Europe. Basically, it's past degree, it's past bachelor education. There's a platform that is actually dedicated for the knowledge adoption through online and through hands-on trainings, which are actually done through new term also teaching learning factories in Europe. So they're creating from universities or research technology organizations throughout Europe these playgrounds where this education is going to happen. In the same manner, this is how we also get a chance to play and see what the best technologies are out there and what is suitable for future developments for us. So we adopted 2 years ago. We actually Technology University Wien did the technology transfer to us on collaboration robots. So we got robot and several other latest editions of the robots and all the knowledge in a 2-year project. So it's very interesting how the transfer will happen like immediately. So now we're looking at the other also technologies like AR, VR is something that we're doing in a form of the digital twin. So the digital twin is going to get very popular. So everything needs to go digital, not just metaverse. I mean, we have the several projects in industrial metaverse sphere starting right now. And then digital twin is something that's it's ongoing process. I think it's ever, but some standards needs to be laid down in that format. So that is our future couple of technologies that we're going to be exploring next year or so at least.
Absolutely. And I can't help myself but raise the question of artificial intelligence impacting everything that we a lot of our listeners would have felt the effects of artificial intelligence in their day-to-day lives already. And if they haven't, things are happening in the background. Just one last question before we shut down this episode, even though it's been a fantastic half an hour already. Anything in this AI space? I know we're talking more about the software side, but obviously AI is impacting every element of what we do. Anything is FabLab involved in anything AI related at this stage or looking to get involved with?
We are actually using AI like on daily use, for everybody, just for our own research or whatever. I mean, it's really a good tool. I mean, you have to know how to use it. It's simple, and I think everybody's getting to that agreement in the world. It's going to replace some jobs, whatever it is, but it's good. It's going to be replacing those jobs. So as collaborative robots or the robots, they were replacing hardworking people that they were doing this manual work, and then later they would live 50 years and they would spend a lot of money just to get fixed in medical facilities. So obviously it's better for the people and everybody else. So we are currently developing just one thing in the AI field, and it's within the AR VR metaverse. So within the VR metaverse, we have concept where we're moving the computer-aided design or CAD and CAM programs like SolidWorks or AutoCAD into the metaverse. So we are using AI to lay down foundations and pieces of the software within the metaverse. So it is rather complex, but it is also very simple. It just needs to be tailored down. So what we're trying to achieve is basically when you put a headset on, like Oculus Quest 2, you actually can start designing things immediately, which you can then immediately print from the headset. So the biggest stopover now in technology propagations are actually engineers. We invented technology, but in order to create a product, you have to make the model of the two-dimensional model. So that is actually now happening in a software, and these software tools are literally really complex. It takes time to be master of it, and then you can use it. And there's not so many people that can do it. So between the fast developing, the rapid prototyping of the product from beginning to just idea and a paper, all the way to actual physical product, that right now the barrier is engineers that need to design this in a SolidWorks or software and similar. So this project is trying to solve this in a metaverse. So it's trying to get you the tools that you actually can do it easily without the training. So you don't have to be an engineer. Obviously, you have to do some calculations and things like that. If you need something to be sturdy or whatever it is, but the general design idea, just the concept that you can actually do it without real engineering training.
Amazing. Really, we could talk for hours here. There's so much inspiration here from everything that's happening around the world, and it's absolutely brilliant to know that we have someone like yourself and the team that you've built in Sarajevo who are working on cutting-edge technologies and expanding that, and most importantly, making it accessible to the everyday individual who wants to dabble, who wants to explore, who wants to perhaps do things they can't normally do at the faculty level, or let's not even get into the levels of high schools and elementary schools. So you guys are doing some amazing work. Edin, I know I'm going to see you in Sarajevo at the Futures Leaders Summit. You're going to be there. Is there anything that our listeners should be expecting from the FabLab team at Futures Leaders Summit?
Whatever you guys need, I mean, we'll do the best. I mean, we already had made arrangements, what's going to happening. So there's going to be students coming to the FabLabs during all the time. That will be interesting. We're going to be, showing them, showcasing the technologies to them, and that will be very, very, helpful for them and for their future foundations. So I'm really glad that the summit is coming, and get to hang together, several days.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to pop into the FabLab as well. So there you have it, everyone. Edin Skaljic doing some incredible things with his team in Sarajevo, cutting edge technology found right there in the heart of Sarajevo, going to expand that across all of Bosnia. They are going to engage all the towns wherever they can. So if you run into anyone from the FabLab, or you want to come along and get inspired at Makers Fair, or if you want to join us at Futures Leaders Summit from the 15th to the 17th of December, Dom Mladi Skenderia, please do so. There will be some incredible people, incredible technology, and most importantly, you will create some friendships for life. Edin, thank you so much again for joining us here at Futures Voices.
Thank you, Eddie. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Until next time.